Good morning, everyone. Welcome to this excellent. See what I did there?
But he worked on that all week.
I've been waiting for weeks for that. Excellent episode of Coffee with Jim and James. We are bringing you a very special one. As you can see, our guest and the theme of this, James, I want you to lead us in because I have this vision of a saw, sharpening the saw.
Yeah. Anybody who's been along for the ride over the last couple of years on this podcast, you know, we did a series on 7 habits, and the last habit, the 7th habit, is sharpen the saw. And so we were thinking about how cool would it be to bring different folks on to personify that one, because as Stephen Covey says, that habit is the hardest. And what's funny is it's the funnest and the most awesome when you're doing it right. We can all agree on that, but really it takes intentionality and us putting time towards it. So we thought, why not bring some folks on that can help put some meat around it? I feel so bad I even said that. And so this episode is sharpening the saw, but a kind of a collection of episodes that this one in particular is about, you know, and I'm not going to label it. So it could be anything, whatever that thing is for you, but grilling, barbecue, smoking, you know what I mean. And we have 2 awesome guests today. Jimmy, you want to bring them in?
I do. Let's bring in Matt first. Matt, would you mind introducing yourself to the audience and give us a little tidbit of why you're here today and what that excellent attributes that you may have?
Sure. Yeah, absolutely. Well, first off, thanks for having me, guys.
No doubt.
As you said, this is my 2nd time. So my name is Matt Purchatzke. I am the regional sales manager for Northern Plains Distributing, who is the big green egg distributor basically in the Midwest. I live in central Wisconsin and I cover all the way up in through the UP. So it truly is, in my opinion, God's country. Really, as you guys said, excited to be here. Just be careful, Jimmy, when you start using the egg words, it's hard to stop. So
I know I've been doing it for days right now. People are looking at me like I'm nuts.
Yeah. So I'm excited to be here. And I'm sorry, James, what else did you want me to?
No, that's good for now. That's good. You better prepare yourself because we're going to be ready for this grilling you in a minute.
All right. Perfect.
Let's bring
not
our
a good
friend
setup.
Nick. Actually, he's been on many of times. SGA. Remember we had him at the booth.
Yep. Charlotte.
Nick, go ahead. Please introduce yourself to the audience.
Nick Temple, business development manager for Rhino Markers. We are a Trident Solutions company. All your damage prevention product needs. And I am coming at you live from Tempe, Arizona.
Look at that. Awesome.
Yes, sir.
And if you don't know it, Nick's an influencer, basically. I think he went viral on TikTok. He's probably trending right now as we speak.
He is.
Well, we have a fantastic marketing department. I will give you that. It's definitely not my charm and looks that got us the fame online, but we've had some fun success for sure.
Well, I just have to jump in here before we get into the episode and segment. If you have a chance, go to Nick. Where are those videos kept that you've done?
They're all on rhinomarkers.com.
Okay, they are some of the funniest videos I've ever seen. I mean, they are hilarious, and
they get the job done too. You know, that's the cool part. It's still awareness, but it's in a new way that I just love.
It's fun.
I love it.
Right
but
on.
this isn't about Nick.
Nope.
This is a very important subject, Jimmy.
It is.
And I want to get us into it because we have gathered, you know, some awesome folks. And I know these 2 in particular are eggheads. They're big green eggheads, like myself. So that's kind of cool to have us all in one room. Jim's the oddball. I think he just cooks on like an old camping griddle or something at his house. No, I know Jim's basically a chef too. Him and Tammy whip up some awesome stuff. But really, I wanted to jump in and I think a fun way to kick it off is whether you're a griller, you smoke meats, or you, your barbecue, whatever you want to call it, whatever your thing is. What is each one of your go-to items? Like, what is Nick's signature thing, Matt? No judgment, anything. Let's hear it. Nick, I'll just tee you up.
All right, man. Well, if I had to say my go-to thing is, I'm more of a griller than a smoker. I am a certified dork. I have 3 big green eggs. I know, don't judge me. But my go-to is a tomahawk ribeye. I like a reverse sear on a tomahawk ribeye. I can get my big green egg up to about 850 when it's sear time on some hickory or pecan wood. And if I had to pick a second, I would say I can cook some pretty mean salmon on my big green egg because my wife doesn't eat red meat. So I usually have to cook them both. And I cook you some pretty serious salmon on there.
Can I ask you a question as a novice? Like down here in South Florida, it's usually mahi that we're doing. But anyways, you mentioned grilling versus smoking. A lot of people know the difference. Grilling, barbecuing, smoking. Either one of the gentlemen, anybody, all 3 of you, jump in. Let's help educate people as to what's the primary difference between those are.
Go for that, Matt.
Yeah, so basically, how I would interpret it is grilling would be more of your little bit higher temp stuff, burgers, brats, that sort of thing, chicken. Smoking would be something more that you would do at a low and slow and take extended period of time. For example, doing a brisket or a pork shoulder, you're talking 10, 12 plus hours, where grilling is kind of more of
minutes.
Let's cook it and let's eat.
Okay.
Obviously, and then you're adding a smoke flavor too. If you're smoking, can add some chips for a profile that you don't get.
And things are so versatile now too that grilling. I mean, there's a huge label on grilling. I think with things like the big green egg and other things, like you're basically having an oven outside. That you can cook brownies on it. You can do all those things. So there's almost like a third element where you're just basically cooking normal kitchen food out, as well. Because it's weird. Some of it's not grilling, but you can bake out there, you can make pizza, stuff like that. So, that's great. So man, tomahawk ribeye. We're gonna have to talk about that a little bit more. Matt, what is your go-to?
So my go-to is when I'm at home because I have 2 little kids. I have a 12-year-old son and a soon-to-be 5-year-old daughter, and we do pizzas a lot.
Really?
It's homemade raw dough pizzas. My kids will just have a great time rolling the dough out themselves, making their own little pizzas. And, we'll get the egg up at indirect heat over with a baking stone and get about 700 degrees. And now it's my own personal brick oven pizza cooker, and they cook in 6 or 7 minutes. So it's fun. I mean, even if you have a bunch of people over and they can all make their pizzas together, it's
Matt, do you buy your dough or do you have your own recipe?
No, I make my own. I absolutely make my own. Yeah.
Love it. Yeah. I'm a big fan of pizza on the big green egg. I've geeked out on that. I had some great pizza parties. It's a great party thing because everybody wants to make their own. And I just make a ton of dough. And you can just go grab and do what you want with it. That's awesome. Very cool.
It's just something different,
All right. What would come in number 2?
Well, for me, for number 2, it would have to be because of my wife. She loves steaks. So we sear steaks, tonight we got some New York strip thawing out in the fridge right now. So we do steaks quite a bit as well. Because it just, crank that baby up, sear it, take it off at temp. It's amazing.
Can I ask a question about the big egg? Again, you guys put charcoal or whatever in the bottom of it. You get it up to speed. Do you guys then shut it down so that charcoal can be used the next time, or do you have to clean it out every time? And again, it's a serious question.
Good question.
Yeah, no, I'm sorry, Nick, go ahead.
Yeah, that's a good question. And I do reuse charcoal. The key is to not use the really low quality charcoal. It does make a difference. And I promise you, I'm not saying this because Matt is on here, but I have tried them all. Trust me. The best charcoal that I think the best charcoal is the big green egg charcoal.
Wow. No free sponsors.
No.
I love it. It's a great.
Yeah.
No, I do the same. I shut well, I'll say usually if I'm smoking on it, I'm probably going to clean that out because I'm
Yeah.
going to put enough hours on it
Yep.
that it's going to be small. Is going to be a lot to it.
Yep.
But if I am grilling on it, sure, I'll shut it down and reuse that. I might throw a couple of wood
Yeah.
chunks on it or something after. But
Yep.
yeah, it's a little different. Now, Jimmy, I
James?
know you may not be on the level of Nick and Matt,
No.
but I also know that you have kind of your go-to things as well. What are some of your go-to things, Jimmy?
On the grill?
Yeah, well, yeah, you can do whatever you want.
Let me
I'll
do
let you.
that. One thing, and I am notorious for this. I love pork chops, bone-in pork chops. There's just something about them that I just absolutely love. So those on the
Yes.
grill are mine. And again, I don't mean to. It seems like I'm on a separate island from you all are on the mainland because I also like to sous vide, where you put it in a bag and you do that, and then you take it out and then you put it on the grill just for like 90 seconds, just get that char on it. So I'm a sous vide grill type of guy, do them both that way.
See, I was teeing you up for that answer. I was hoping that's what you were going to say.
James, you see us now. I'm going to tee you up. What's your go-to, James? What's the thing? You are in the heart of Texas. You are in the heart of barbecue, smoking, grilling.
Yeah.
What's yours?
Yeah, I have two things as well. The first one I would say I do a kind of a version of barbacoa so I'll smoke like a chuck roast and get some smoke on it, and then I'll move it into a cast iron out there and Dutch oven it kind of in a cast iron.
Right.
And I'll put green chilies in it and stuff like that. And then I'll shred it all and make tacos for a week, or a day. So I do that a lot, and it's a little bit different, but it's kind of both because I'll put a sear on it and then I'll make it where you can just basically pull it. I love to do ribs. I know it's cheesy and the normal thing, but I like to really try a bunch of different things. So I really enjoy that. My family loves it. Everybody loves ribs, right? You can't go wrong. But I am more on the smoking side. I do a lot of grilling on there too. I got a propane setup too that I use. I'm equal opportunity. I'll start a fire and just cook something on a stick, like I like all the ways, but yeah, those would probably be mine too.
Okay. All right. That's good. One thing I think I'm hearing a theme though too is that, and when you think about it, folks, this being 4th of July week when this is airing, what also happens during this time of the year is, friends and family get-togethers. And it's always fun to have a barbecue or something as a centerpiece where people gather around. And how many times have you been around the grill or the big green egg, and all of a sudden you look around and there's 4, 8, 10 people just kind of watching, taking it, but the fellowship that comes from that is intense. And that's the part that I really enjoy.
No doubt. I think that's really why we do it, right?
Probably.
Probably deep down or something that we're trying to fill. No, I'm just
Yeah.
kidding. Hey guys, all right, I'm going to keep this moving, Jimmy. I'll let you have the next set. Okay.
Go ahead.
So, all right, we know what your specialties are, your go-to things. I don't know how long y'all been doing this. It doesn't mean big green egg only, anything. How long have y'all been grilling, smoking, whatever? I want to hear that. But then second, what are some like go-to tips and tricks maybe that y'all have that, I don't know, changed kind of game changer for you that you would share with some folks? Nick?
I would say my grilling and smoking barbecue journey started on a like a regular charcoal briquette type of a
clamshell.
Yep, you got it. And I started there, cut my teeth there, and then my next door neighbor had a big green egg on his deck, and he was smoking some ribs, and I started talking to him, and I was like, oh man, maybe I should go down this road. And then I started thinking about it, and I thought, you know what? This guy is always outside with his kids, with his wife. They're just listening to tunes. And this, you said it, it's like the centerpiece. And I thought, I'm going to get into that. I'm going to make an investment. I'm going to get into that. So I did.
Get into that club, that cult.
That's right. Well, and I cut my teeth on a different brand, kind of the entry level brand, and it taught me some lessons. And then I moved up to like the next level brand, and it taught me a few more lessons. The main one is go buy a big green egg, quit wasting your time.
Wow.
So I did that. I bought my first one, and I love low and slow. Like you're talking about those barbacoa tacos, man. You're
That's my
speaking my
love
language.
Yeah.
I love low and slow. But I have 3 kids, and we have sports and all kinds of stuff. And it's tough for me to allocate a lot of time to that. So I typically, stick to grilling stuff at 350 plus, which I consider, grill temp. So,
Yeah.
But I respect it. I love it. And, there's times like on game, college football game day, I'll get up at 6 in the morning, if I've got a pork shoulder, get that thing in the fridge all night, get that going. And it's funny because when I think of doing a pork shoulder, what I want to make is street tacos, like you were talking about your barbacoa tacos. So my tip would be like on a street taco for if you wanted to try something like that, and you can do it on a gas grill. My boss, Chris, smokes stuff on his gas grill all the time with the smoker box, piece of cake. But my mom showed me this trick for a really simple salsa that is phenomenal. And all it was a diced jalapeno, chopped mango, and some onions.
Nice.
Oh my gosh, on some really good smoked pork. Street tacos with some cilantro. Yeah, it's legit. So my tip is, get a big green egg. That's my tip.
Oh, dang.
It doesn't cost that much
I
more.
guess there are
to go
free
first
sponsors
class,
today.
right?
Yeah.
All right, Matt, tell us a little bit like how, what got you and how long you've been smoking,
Sure.
and then, grilling. And then same question to you.
Yeah. So I just probably like everybody, I started on a charcoal, little Weber kettle grill back in the day, got a gas grill, and had both for a while. I started at my current position selling Big Green Egg in 2017. And that was the first time I ever cooked on one. And I didn't realize how passionate I could get about a Big Green Egg so quickly. And it's been Big Green Egg since 2017. And I don't think there's any looking back, regardless of what I do for a living. It's amazing. It is extremely versatile, and the food's incredible. Like you said earlier, James, it's ever since 2017, my family has hosted every holiday for the most part, because my family and friends want your Thanksgiving turkeys, your Easter hams, all that kind of stuff. So it's become such a social thing for us all. It's been awesome. A tip as far as just any outdoor cooking, or really even cooking at all, what really changed my game is just an instant read thermometer. It's amazing. It's amazing how
digital.
much.
Yep.
Yeah, I have a digital. Yeah, Egg has 4 different versions, so I have 4 of the 4. So, but yeah, I have a digital instant read thermometer, and it's just no matter how you're cooking or what you're cooking on, if you learn to pull at proper temperature, everything you make,
such a good tip. Yes.
Yeah, I can't think of how many people you talk to that maybe don't smoke or do barbecue, long-term smokes, and they'll be like, well, how long do you cook your brisket for? And I'm like, what are you even talking about? When it's to temp every time. How long do you cook your steak? I do 8 minutes aside, and I'm like, I take the temperature of it.
Yep. I pull my steaks off at 117 internal. Wow. That's kind of my sweet spot right there. And I have a temp pen. I have probably 4 or 5 of them, and they're just the cheapo version, but that is the key. Yeah. You cannot overcook food if you're temp pen that stuff. So pull your steak at 117.
Let me jump in. I'm going to ask this to all 3. James, I want to get you in the mix here for sure. Given me and who I am, what can you help me to understand? What do you guys hate about, what's the bad thing about barbecue and I should avoid? Give me some tips that I should stay away from. So you mentioned some of the good things. What are the things that I should be leery of?
My advice would be leery of the bad charcoal, and try not to use the briquette stuff. I think there's a lot of chemicals and things in there. With good lump charcoal, there's no chemicals. I mean, it's all natural, man.
Okay.
And that's my advice.
Okay. Matt?
No,
Oh.
Nick's, that's great advice from Nick. And when in regards to the big green egg, you have to make sure you actually don't use any type of briquettes or lighter fluid or anything like that, because it actually ruins the ceramics of the egg. So a good high quality lump charcoal can make all the difference, really.
Okay.
But as far as like something to stay away from, I wouldn't say really anything. I would look at it more as a mindset. I talk to so many people when I'm out doing events, and people are just intimidated by smoking or things that, you know, they think a brisket, like, oh, it's so expensive, I don't want to ruin it. And it's like, just go buy some chicken and just do it. You know, like, get out of
Sure.
your own head and just go. I mean, people always think like I'm something special. And it's like, I'm not. I just have done it. I'm not a trained barbecue guy at all. I just have done it a lot and just kind of hone my skills. So just get off the
Good.
couch and go do
Get
it.
started.
All right.
Yeah,
That's
that's
good.
it.
Learn by doing is what
Yeah.
I'm hearing here. James, tell me what should I avoid in your world? What would that be?
I think what Matt said is dead on. Like most of us learn by trying out new things, finding what we like, and I just experiment a lot, you know, on mine in different ways. If I was somebody, and I guess this falls almost back into the last question too. So Matt, you said earlier, I'm not a big smoker as opposed to a griller. I would say, look for those little, like I've got a big green egg, so I've got, one of the little cheater fans that go in the bottom,
Mhm.
and it keeps it at temp. So Nick, you were saying I don't have the time. I literally go to sleep, and then I wake up in the morning. Like I put it on at 10 o'clock at night, and it runs. I never put anything in it. And when I wake up, about an hour, it goes off, and I go pull it. You know, like and have the best brisket in the world. You know what I mean? Like that kind of deal. So if you're
You have that confidence that you start it, let it go, and go to sleep?
because again, I mean, you're cooking to a temp, and I know when it's going to stall. I know all those things to some degree. If you trim your meat the way you should, and you've done it enough, you have a ballpark depending on the weight of where you're going to be at. If I
Okay.
put it on at midnight, I mean, and then I can go to bed and sleep till 6:30, and I, can pull that for the next day, then I do that. So I've got a lot of cheaters like that. But I'm like, Matt, man, try it out, do it. I'm not all right, I'm gonna be honest, I'm not a mac and cheese fan. I know that probably will piss a lot of people off. I know, Nick's face. All right, but because all the mac and cheese, which this will piss another group off, that I've ever had was, like the yellow mac and cheese out of the box, right? Well, I look at this mac and cheese sometimes at these barbecue joints and like on the food channel, and I'm like, dude, I would eat that because I know the ingredients.
Yeah.
I know what goes into it. I know it's good cheese. I know it's, and then I can put it on and put as much smoke on it as I want. And then I pulled it and it's fantastic, right? It was everything I wanted. So just experiment, get out there and do it, right? So Jimmy, I didn't answer that question, not one bit.
But you know what though? That's right. I went down the story, and now you got me intrigued about this macaroni and cheese on a grill. Because I'm used to the type where you undo the envelope and you pour the cheese on it, then mix it with water.
I'm saying I love good cheese, right? Like, so you go research that, then I'll go buy
Yeah,
really
no,
good
being
cheese
serious,
and
that
make it.
does sound really good with that smoke
Yeah.
flavor that gets into it. And that's a beautiful thing when you cook from scratch. It really does add to it. You know, you guys are kind of I don't know, would you guys call yourselves all professionals? I don't want to use the word snob, but are you guys, are you guys at the creme de la creme of the barbecue world? I mean, what's your
I would say, I don't know if I could call myself that, but I would call my kids that. I mean, here's why. After you cook a few prime fillets or a few nice prime ribeyes, and then you show up with the regular stuff, my kids who are, my son's almost 11 and my daughter just turned 9, then my youngest is 5, they'll look at me and be like,
oh, really?
Really? Yeah, that's a problem. That's an expensive
And when you go out to eat, right?
Yeah.
Like, you end up somewhere and they order a steak and they look at it like,
right.
What is this garbage? Right? It's
Yeah.
We've ruined these children.
So I've created 3 meat snobs, basically.
Good.
Sorry, world.
That's a great.
Yeah, you're not a meat snob until you create a meat snob, I think is what.
All right.
Matt, are you a snob now when it comes to grilling?
I don't think God, I don't think I'm a snob. I do have preferences, and I do know what I like, and
Yeah.
I can parlay off of what Nick was saying too. Is your family and all that, they just get so accustomed to how good the food is off of the egg that you just you know what, nothing really else compares. Even when you go to a steakhouse and pay their prices, it's like, man, we could have done this at home, bought a good cut. But again, I don't think I'm a snob. I know, I mean, there's room for everybody. Barbecue in general, just outdoor cooking, like we've already discussed, is just communal, and it whatever you're cooking on gets the job done. But there are some things that do them better than others, and I just happen to think the egg is top.
Jimmy, I'm gonna chime in on this one.
My finger is going right to you, brother. Come on.
So
bring me in your
I am
world.
not a snob. Like, if we're gonna go to your house and chill and have a couple beers and do the
Diet
whole
Coke.
bit, like,
Diet Coke.
dude, I'm in. Sign me up. I'm never gonna be like, I would never eat that burger that way or whatever the thing is. Like,
Right.
because I'm like you, Matt. It's about being there. It's the communal part of it. It's the fellowship, right?
Yeah.
Now, I will say, when I'm paying for barbecue, I become a snob pretty quick, because barbecue is funny. And if you've been on any kind of at any of these barbecue joints across the US, you walk in and that barbecue was cooked yesterday and wrapped in saran wrap and it's sitting there. And like, I get it, but there's something awesome about cooking your own barbecue and pulling it and eating it hot and fresh. Like, it just is good. And everything coming together, right? And you don't have that option in a lot of these places. Now, there are some out there that are fantastic, and believe me, I've been to a lot of them, and they are worth it. But the run-of-the-mill barbecue joint in fill in the blank town, yeah, I'll eat it, but I'll probably complain, and it'll be the same complaint, like that. I just know there's better barbecue, when it's fresh. That's all it is. It's usually freshness with me.
I think that's a beautiful thing. I think the way that you're putting it, James, and gentlemen too. The idea is that you can cook in the family home, family kitchen, and whether that kitchen is outdoors or indoors, and family and friends are gathering. That's a really important thing. And when you can make something that's really good and use great ingredients to make something special, that's wonderful. I mean, that really is.
No
Let me circle around, James. I'm going to hit you. You were on a roll there. What brought you to barbecue, James?
I think this is our big question, Jimmy. This is our, this is like the big one. I think all of us. I do.
I want to hear it.
So I'll tell my
journey.
So I'll go way back, and my grandpa was a chef in the Army, or a cook in the Army, right? And so growing up, I watched my grandpa basically cook every meal. And from breakfast to everything. He was not a griller. I never saw him cook on a grill ever in my life.
Okay.
But he kind of put that in me. And so, but what I did take from him was like prepping and clean up as you go. And, all these simple things that now I just take for granted. But he created the love for cooking. Now, I just like Nick and Matt, I started really on a clamshell, a Weber clamshell. No free sponsors. That out in front of an apartment, I'm sure it was a hazard, and I would sit 8 hours sit next to a little clamshell in front of an apartment, and I was like, man, I'm in. And then I just kind of upgraded as I went along. But there were years that I lusted after big green eggs, like I would just see them and I'd look at them and just go, that's when I know I'll make it.
How long did it take? How long did it take you to get your first one? But by the time
so when I relocated to Dallas-Fort Worth area about 10 years ago, I sold all my equipment when I left. That was the bet. I was like, can I sell all this? And then maybe I can get an egg when I get up there. And that was the gamble I made. And then I got one. I only have one, Nick. Mine aren't mating yet. But they're awesome. It was everything I wanted. But honestly, it's kind of like this stuff. Nick and I met on a golf course one day, and we chatted, and we found out we both used big green eggs, and we were eggheads, and instant bond. And then we realized our kids were the same age. And then you know what I mean? So even kind of going back to that, the fellowship that was involved in is what really I latched onto. People love to eat. So that's a really easy conversation starter, but to gather people around, and then that pride, to go back, just that pride of feeding people and breaking bread, I think it's just awesome to be able to host people.
That's beautiful, man.
Well said.
That's beautiful. Nick, let's lead to you. Who or what drove you to barbecue? Where'd your passion stem from?
Yeah, very similar to James. I would say 7 or 8 years ago, I would get towards the end of the week, and if I had a long week or whatever, and I would just be like, I just want to be outside with my kids. I don't want to go sit in a crowded restaurant. I want to be outside, and I think that's the key word. And I think that really plays into sharpening the saw, and just getting back to the core of what we do everything for. And so I just was like, you know what? I want to be outside with my kids, and I want to break bread. Like, I want to make something for my family. And so that's kind of how it started, on the kettle grill. And then it really just kind of became our thing. Like, on Friday nights, I want my kids outside, whether now it's here in Arizona. And so my kids are in the pool. I'm on the egg. I'm cooking dinner for everybody. We have music on. That's us on a Friday, and depending on where you live geographically, that may be a challenge parts of the year. But even in the wintertime, when I lived in Minnesota for 9 years, I would be cooking, and we would be listening to tunes inside, doing the same thing, just inside, unfortunately. But it really became who we are. We bought a travel trailer. As soon as COVID started, my wife said, buy a travel trailer because we're going to be locked down. And I said, okay. And we bought one, and we went on our first trip, and I had this aha moment where I was like, oh my gosh, I don't have my big green amp. I got my Bluetooth speaker. I got an IPA, and I'm like, I'm out of my element. So yeah, go ahead.
What did you do?
I bought a Mini Max. It's an easy answer. And so we got the Mini Max, and then it was like every weekend we were camping, and I have my Mini Max, and I got my tunes, and and my kids are outside, and that really helped keep everything together, and now that we're sort of back to normal-ish or whatever, that's still our thing, and you will find us outside. You will find me on my egg on a Friday cooking for my family. And that is honestly, I'm not trying to lead you into your next subject here, but that's how I sharpen the saw.
Ooh, I see
Love
what
it,
you did there.
man. That was great. You're basically a caveman. That's what you're saying. I like to provide for my family.
Yeah.
I love it, Nick. Matt?
Yeah, so for me, it was just probably pretty standard with most people. I just started as a weekend warrior and just would cook whenever I felt like I wanted burgers or chicken or that sort of thing. I really didn't get into smoking or doing anything else until I started with my company in February of 2017, and then that's just when the passion was instantaneous. And since then, the floodgates opened, and now we cook on an egg easily 3 to 4 times a week. There's times that I'll be out for the weekend doing events for work, and I'll come home and my wife will be like, oh, I got XYZ out for dinner. So I'll be cooking all day, come home, fire up my own egg and continue it on. But it's incredible. I can't complain about it. Now, speaking with what Nick was saying, is I do live in Wisconsin, and you can use the egg year round, right? I mean, it can be 20 degrees outside or 20 below or 80 degrees outside, and the egg
Just go in and out, in and out, in and out.
Yeah, right.
Yep.
So when it's 20 below, I'm miserable. The egg does not care. But now I don't like it, but it's still worth it to cook on it. And it functions as it should, if not even better in the colder weather, actually.
Yeah, I cook. I didn't talk about this earlier, but for New Year's Eve, I always do a rib roast or a prime rib, and it's always freezing. I mean, one year like that, we had an ice storm, and I had my egg going. I think it performs better.
Yeah.
All right, that was just one last one, Jimmy.
Well,
Sorry.
I want to tell you my story where
That's what I was about to say. What about you?
it was more so survival of the fittest. Let me just tell you how I grew up. Okay. Quick story. My mom went to the butcher and got 4 slabs of baby back ribs. Okay. And she said, we're going to make ribs, put them on the counter, undid the paper, right? And beautiful ribs. She took barbecue sauce, raw ribs, and put them all over the ribs, front and back and everything. And she goes, okay, carry these outside. So I'm 10 years old. I'm carrying them outside, and we had the clamshell, right? So she dumps a bunch of charcoal in there, lots of lighter fluid, lights it, puts the grill on, 1 Mississippi, 2 Mississippi, 3 Mississippi. And she goes, put the ribs on. And I'm like, all right. So can you imagine what those look like after about 8 minutes? That's how that's where that's where
Inspired you.
I need to learn how to do this a little bit better. So that's a true story. That is an absolute true story. She ruined 4 slabs of the most beautiful baby back ribs you had
I
ever
tell
seen.
you what, I bet we all have. I think my
yeah.
first ones, that's how I prepared them as well. I wrapped them in foil, and then they burnt to the foil, because all the sugar in there. And I cooked them for like 27 hours, I think. I didn't know what I was doing. And they just pulled right off the bone because they were crispy. We all have those. That'll be the next one. We tell all our horror stories.
Oh, I have a lot of those.
I was, I'm going to throw this out there real quick. Growing up, my mom would make beef ribs sometimes, and there was just, I don't know what was going on with the prep, but it just wasn't the best thing. And so pre-COVID, Texas 811, used to be held in San Marcos. And my boss, Chris Thome, and I took a group of friends to Lockhart, which is the barbecue capital of Texas,
go to
if
Black's?
y'all don't know. And we went to Black's. And my good friend, may he rest in peace, Andy Hull, and he said, you got to have their dinosaur bones here at Black's. And I was like, oh, okay. Which is a beef rib, a Texas-sized beef rib. And it is top 5 best thing I've ever had in my life. And I don't have the skill to make those.
It's like a brisket lollipop.
Oh my gosh, what a great way to
fantastic.
explain it. I mean, it blew my socks off, man. So you start talking about ribs, I just got to throw Black's out there. That's unreal.
Yeah.
There we go.
I won't keep adding to these stories, but I'll tell one real quick. It's in Texas, a lot of people will ask, like, oh, we're having ribs. In Texas, people will ask, like, or I really like to cook ribs. Oh, do you pork or beef?
Mm-hmm.
And most people will never touch a beef rib because it's tough, right? I mean, it takes some more skill. Everybody can cook pork ribs. Believe me, you can. If you've never done it, you can. It's a lot more forgiving. But the beef ones here, man, I've had that rib you're talking about, Nick.
Mm-hmm.
So good.
Mm-hmm.
All right, Jimmy, I've got to go eat something.
Do you? I
starving.
think this is a great episode. I think it's fun to get together, fun to talk about just barbecuing and family and friends and doing the things we want to do, sharpen saw. And as a note for myself, July 10th will mark 11 years sobriety for me. So it's a very extra special weekend for this.
Nice.
So
Congratulations.
There you go, man.
Congrats, sir.
yeah, thank you. So I think it's just great getting together and having fellowship like this and letting people know that it's all right, that all the times that we all talk about business and such like that, it's great to get together. So
It really is.
yeah.
Hey guys, thank y'all for coming and being friends of the show and being on here again. I think it always says something if you come back second time or you're invited back a second time, right? Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. No offense to all those that were on once.
Thank you guys for having me, man.
Thanks for joining us, gents. Until next week on Coffee Jim and James, you all stay safe. Take care, everybody.